The purpose of this lesson is not how to operate the software. In this video, I want to talk about basic editing principles and an overview of what all software kind of looks like and how they operate. If you want some really specific videos on how to operate specific software, there's a lot of YouTube videos that you can access that will give you real specific lessons on operating your software. The goal of this lesson is to get you to edit your montage into a timeline. I'm demonstrating using LumaFusion, software that I purchased specifically for all of these GIL videos, and as you can see what the timeline looks like in all of my videos that I've been working on. This software costs $40 Canadian. Not a bad price considering how extensive this software is. You can find other software for cheaper, but LumaFusion works for both Apple phones and Android phones, and as you see I'm demonstrating on an iPad, and will work on Android tablets as well. Why did I choose this software? Because it gave me a lot of versatility to edit and access to some of the professional tools that I might use for editing. Plus I can add in more layers of visual and audio. I'll get to layers in the next lesson. But what's important to see in pretty much every software is that the interface is relatively the same. There's 4 things that you're going to be looking for. The first is where your software accesses the source footage. While this software here shows me where all of my source material is, often you've just got to click on a button where you can get to your folder that holds all of your photos and your videos. In this case, LumaFusion allows me to link to a bunch of other drives as well. I'll demonstrate that in a moment. But our windows are broken up into 4 components. The first is the source where we find all of our videos. The second is the timeline where we're going to make all of our cuts. This is where our work gets done. The third is the screening window up here where I can see the results of my edits. The fourth is the tools. Down here I have a variety of tools that I can use, and in this software the tools show up in a number of different places. Now on a phone the tools will be reorganized because the geography of the screen is a lot smaller. In this case you can pretty much see everything. This is where the software really differs. For LumaFusion I can see my tools. With other editing software you might have to dig around to find the tools. But they'll be there, specifically tools that let you cut in your timeline. Editing is really a 3-part process. The first part is importing your videos from your photos folder. The second part is organizing your footage on a timeline, where you're going to drag and drop videos from your photo folder and reconfigure the order in the timeline. The third part in the process is trimming the start and end points of each of your edits. You want to get the edit tight and make sure that the story plays out and is interesting. So when you open up your software, the first thing you're going to do is start a new project. I'm going to go down here, and as you can see, here's all of my projects that have been saved from the beginning, all of the videos that I've been working on for this GIL project. I'm going to start a new edit, and it's going to give me an option, and I'm going to call this one 5 editing demo montage. Okay, now when I've done that, I can see here my frame rates. Remember we talked about frame rates? Most of the frame rates for these videos shot on my phone I recorded at 24. But in this case, because I'm recording directly on the screen, it's going to come out as 30. The other thing is the aspect ratio. Remember we talked about the portrait mode for your phone, the 4:3, which is either old iPads and old televisions. You can see from this software it gives me a lot of different aspect ratios. I don't see using anything but 16:9 for most of the time. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to save that. And now I've got a new empty timeline and a new empty window. Now I need to import some footage into the timeline. I've saved the footage both for myself and for you in the GIL filmmaking course. They'll be down in the media. There'll be the montage exercise footage. And I've got a couple more that just need to be downloaded here. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take a look at each of my clips. Now I can click on it and often it'll show up in a window. Sometimes you'll have to take it and drag it down into your timeline depending on your software. But I'll just open it up here so you can get a visual of what the clip looks like. It's a little loud there. I'll just turn the volume right down. So it's a shot of the railway tracks, a close-up shot of a railway track. The next clip is going to be a longer clip. What I'm going to do, just for the sake of time, I'm going to take each of these clips and I'm just going to take and drag them down into my timeline. Now I can take and shrink down my timeline. All software can kind of do that. I'll just take each of the clips and throw them one after the next. And we can see what they look like. As you can see, many of these clips were quite long. I told you to make sure that they were 5 seconds each, but you can see that last one was almost 20 seconds. As much as I can, I try to shoot for maintaining a shot for at least 10 seconds. This footage was shot near my home in British Columbia, Canada. There's a beach not far from where I live. It's a nice sunny summer day and people were spending time down at the beach, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to go and collect some visuals. So obviously these are going to be very long. This montage is going to turn out to be much longer than I thought. I was hoping it would be under a minute, but right now we're up to 4 minutes, so I'm sure I can easily cut this. I will easily cut this down because I know a lot of the footage that I shot, I wouldn't probably use. There we go. Now you can see as we look through this, I zoomed in an awful lot, and the camera lens on my Android phone isn't great, so it's quite a blurry shot. It's not a great looking quality shot, unlike this one, which is much more crisp. And there's a couple of the closer ones which are even better. So I've started my project. I've accessed all of my footage from my photo folder. I've imported it down into my timeline. I think I can, there we go. And I can see that my timeline goes all the way to 6 minutes. So the next thing I want to do is take a look at my order, and this might be a bit too much of an order, and I can zoom through it this way rather than watching it all. Obviously I'm going to not use a lot of it. And I might want to change the order of some shots. So once I've taken a look at all my footage, I know I'm going to want to change the order. For instance, this shot here should come somewhere up here. and I'd like to drop it somewhere down into here. So if I start with that shot and then go to the other shots, that might be more interesting. So the next thing you'll do is reorder your shots. Import your shots, order your shots, and reorder them for what you want. Then what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in and trim the head and the tail of each of these shots. Now it's a 12-second shot. There's not an awful lot going on in there except for that little bird. So how about I go in here, and this will let me, as you can see, it's taking off the tail of that cut, and I can also go to the head of that cut and trim it down to just before the bird comes flying in. Where is he? There he is. So if I do something like that, I can see as I zoom in here, it's down to a 3-second shot. So if I start there, cut here, and I know I'm going to want, maybe no more than 3 seconds for this shot too. Nothing really happens. So one of the tools that I'll use is I can either trim the head or the tail this way, grabbing the edges, but also in your software there'll be a pair of scissors or something like scissors. And you can click on those scissors, and as you see there, it just made a cut in that video. Now I can go and I can highlight this other one, the rest of that clip, and rather than trimming it back, I can just delete it. And then, as you saw, everything came zooming back. Another thing that all software will have is an undo button. So if you want to undo it and fix it, you can. But I was happy with that. So then I'll go in and, again, it's another shot where not too much happens. Oh, I see a little truck going there. So how about I cut that one too? Cut that there, and as you'll see, you can get going quite fast on these. Do I need this shot at all? Well, it's interesting to be taking us the other direction. Maybe I'll hold it there. So I'll go to the head of that and I'll pull the beginning back a little bit. And then I'll go to the end, see those cars go by, and drag them back. How long does each shot have to be? Doesn't really matter. Oh, and I got a person going across there. A couple of people, that's interesting. I'll cut there, delete that one out. And you know what? This shot is kind of the same thing, so I don't think I need it at all. I'm going through this process quite quickly. Not a great shot. I'm too far away, and I zoomed way in, but I'm going to hold on to it anyway for a second. There's that zoom. That zoom isn't going to work. It looks obvious. Do I want a picture of a bird? Why not? So I'll cut it there, but I don't want the beginning part. So I'm trimming that out. He throws away a piece of garbage. You should put it in the garbage bin, but what does he know? He's a bird. Some kids playing. Okay, I'll get that little girl running to get some water for her sandcastle. And then this wide shot of the pier in White Rock. Again, not too much happens. Just kind of people coming and going. So how about I just trim out the beginning part. I'll trim out the end part. I'll end with about 3 seconds. Oh, looks like I grabbed that shot twice. So how about I delete the second one? Okay, now I'm going to come in here and get some shots, kind of more shots of the same. Do I want this shot here? Probably not. I probably want it to go maybe over here instead. So I can grab it and move it over. Do I need more of that same shot? That's just the same thing from a different direction. But for the sake of time, I'll just delete it. So I've got some close-ups here of different visuals of the beach. Does it help with my story? Not necessarily. I'll delete a few of them, but I'll leave this last one because my goal is to get into some closer visuals. Of course, I need to trim it down somewhat. And it'll give me an opportunity to get into this close-up sand shot of somebody walking through. So I'll delete that other image. I've got two of the same thing here, two different takes. I only need one. The second one was better. But I'll go and I'll trim this down so that I'm only getting the action. Another shot that's redundant from previous ones. It's a nice shot of people and families, but it's not serving my purpose of my story right now, so I'll delete it as well so that I can cut into this shadow of my camera, which needs to be trimmed from the head and the tail. But I'll cut the second half of it off and delete the second half of it. Again, another take of it. Is the second one any different? Not really. So that series of montage shots of the beach, the sand, my camera, and now into a closer shot of some flowers. Got a wider shot of the flowers, then a closer shot of the flowers. This comes back to when we talked about you've got what's going to cut from one shot to the other. If you can get in twice as close so that the size of the image on screen is only half the size, it'll work great, and that cut works fine. Then I come out to some well-composed rule of thirds shots here, which will help transition me back out to seeing people on the beach or people walking. So that this combination will work well. I just need to shorten up each of those shots. This is a long shot. It's going to cut really well with the next shot right there because the woman is exiting camera right and then re-entering camera left, which makes it for really good continuity. Makes it a great cut. I'll let her walk all the way through screen and out the other side of the camera shot. I can trim that off after she's left, which then takes us to this final shot. Little jiggly camera up at the front, so I need to trim that back so that it's a stable shot and that jiggle isn't drawing attention to itself, which will be my final, essentially kind of a re-establishing of a wide shot before I finish my montage, which then makes the montage 1 minute and 12 seconds. So let's take a look at it from the beginning. And there's my montage. You're welcome to use this footage, but I encourage you to use footage of your own. The more you do this, the more you experiment with it, the better you get at it. So let me reiterate the process for you as you build your montage. Remember, we're going to start with a project. Make sure it's in the same aspect ratio that your camera shot, probably 16:9. You're going to import your footage. Certainly make sure that your footage is accessible in your photo folder. Then you're going to import that footage and lay it out on the timeline based on what you think the natural order should be. Take a look at what you have and decide if you need to reorder some clips to help with the juxtaposition from one shot to the next. Then trim the clips, either trim them back from the head and the tail of each shot, or cut them in the middle and delete the unnecessary content. Next, we're going to talk about doing the same kind of thing, but adding layers as we edit your footage from how to change a light bulb.